Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys, brought to you by the Hockey Podcast Network. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a sports betting perspective. With pro handicappers Alex B. Smith and veteran sports writer Jimmy Murphy. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, presented by the Hockey Podcast Network. Saturday, January 8th, Ian Cameron. We'll have Andrew McGinnis momentarily as well. But we've got an Ice Gal joining us on the program today as well. Great to have back with us. She's been on as a guest on I think it was a Saturday show, or maybe two of them, if I'm not mistaken, last year. And she is back on a Saturday to help us with a massive 11-game card. And it seems like when Melissa's been on the Ice Guys, we put her to work because it's always been a big card with a lot of games. Today is no exception. Melissa, welcome back, and great to have you once again as a special guest.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. And I'm super excited to be here. And again, huge NHL slate. I was up all night last night looking at it, and it's one of those slates that you just wake up and you love. So happy to share my picks today with you guys, and hopefully we align on a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was a good night pretty much all around last night. Andrew had a good night. So did I. You did as well. Terrific Carolina team total. I think we all like that in some form. They get it done against Calgary last night. So good results, but that was yesterday. We'll see if we can replicate that and have a good result here with the Saturday card. And we're going to start with the lone afternoon game taking place on this Saturday slate. The Pittsburgh Penguins taking on the Dallas Stars. Pittsburgh now minus 120, road favorites, the total 6 shaded to the under, although there's some signs that total might go down to 5.5. It's already gone to 5.5 in some spots. So one of those games where you want to make sure you shop around, see if you can find the best total available, whatever side of it you like, the over or the under. The big news, obviously, with Pittsburgh is suddenly Sidney Crosby, it looks like, is not going to play. Now, this just came down moments ago in terms of his absence for this game for the Pittsburgh Penguins. And Brian Rust as well, it looks like, has entered COVID-19 protocol for the Pittsburgh Penguins. And that is a double whammy of unfortunate news for Pittsburgh, because that's 2/3 of their top line. We know just how incredible Brian Rust has been in the 3 games in the new year since he's returned. He's scored 7 goals in 3 games, and he's had 14 shots on goal in those 3 games combined. That is a unfortunate development here for the Pittsburgh Penguins, that he is not suiting up now for this game today. Unfortunate. And they were already without still, of course, Carter, Malkin, Jason Zucker, of course, as well, this Penguins team. So worry about that a little bit, just as they're playing some great hockey. They're on this terrific win streak, and it'll be put to the test now, this terrific win streak for the Pittsburgh Penguins now, with all of a sudden the artillery that's going to be out. Talking no Crosby, no Rust, and the 2/3 of your top line that has been absolutely humming of late for the Pittsburgh Penguins. So disappointing, to say the least. Dallas returned from a lengthy COVID pause. We talked about that, and sure enough, they played a pond hockey type of game, pretty sloppy at the defensive end of the ice. It's not exactly to be unexpected, given the long pause Dallas had. We've seen a lot of teams come back from a long hiatus and look pretty rough defensively. But the good news is they scored 6 goals and found a way to get past Florida, 6-5 in a shootout here. They've trended over in 3 straight. Pittsburgh, because of this onslaught of offense, they've scored 8, 5, and 6 goals their last 3 games that they've won. They've also trended over, but a lot of the reasons for that offensive success was obviously Brian Rust and Crosby. And now Crosby and Rust both out here for Pittsburgh today. And it's unfortunate, because I had lined up Pittsburgh team total over 3.5, and it's now already dropped to 2.5 because of this news. And what turned into looked like a pretty solid play for me at the as of last night, early this morning, is now probably going to be a pass for me in this game with Pittsburgh and Dallas. With Dallas playing well on home ice, they have played very good at home this year. Look, they could have beaten Florida at home the other night. So maybe you can look toward Dallas a little bit. But at the same time, it is a team that's won 10 in a row. I'm not sure I want to step in front of the streak. Melissa, it's very possible that you were in the same boat thinking, maybe we look toward back in this red hot Penguins team. maybe their team total with the fact they've been lighting it up lately. And now to hear of these late scratches for the Penguins today definitely puts a kink in those plans.
Yeah, I'm curious because I saw the reports, but I haven't seen Sid in there. So I don't know where you saw that, if you got inside info on Sid, but I didn't see that officially. I did see Carter was back, but I didn't see anything on Sid. So that makes me really sad because I had a fun stat for him today. But, I did lock in Pittsburgh money line when this did open. Up 2 days ago, I got him on the money line at -125, which has since shifted. So I'm in it. But what I do like about the Pittsburgh Penguins is first period. They've won their last 10 games. Out of those 10, they've dominated that first period play, not winning 9 out of the last 10. An interesting stat too is they've outscored in the first period 17-1 on opponents, which is insane. So I not only have locked in the money line for the full game, but I also did the first period puck line for the Penguins as well to kind of continue with that trend. But the Sidney Crosby news, that's where did you find that?
I'm starting to think he's playing, actually, because I'm looking. There's one site that said he was. No, I think they got it wrong here with the site I'm looking at.
Freaking me out, Ian.
Yeah, no, it looks like Crosby is, at least as of right now. Now things could change. 5 minutes from now, maybe he will be announced out. But right now, I think he actually is going to play. He's still listed as at a couple of other sites here. So some other sites have him still on the top line. So I think Sid might be good to go. Still, it's Brian Rust that's out, and it looks like Carter's back. So it's actually not doom and gloom for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Rust hurts.
That's good. Yeah, that does hurt.
That does. I mean, 7 goals in 3 games. That's insane. That's what he's had essentially in the 3 games here in the new year for the Penguins. So he's been a huge catalyst. But look, Evan Rodriguez, I would look at him from a prop standpoint. We've talked about how terrific he's been lately too for the Penguins. Scored again the other night in their last game. He's been racking up the points of late for this Pittsburgh Penguins team. The question's going to be, he's probably going to get even more responsibility now without Brian Rust in the lineup. But Evan Rodriguez has 5 goals in the last 3 games, and he has 14 shots on goal in the last 3 games as well. So if you're looking at prop, this might be a better props game, to be quite honest with you, than just backing Pittsburgh. Evan Rodriguez to score, Evan Rodriguez over shots on goal. That definitely makes a lot of sense to me in this game. And again, he's seen his status in the lineup elevated as of late because of performance. And now maybe even more so today because you've got one of your better forwards, Brian Rust, not playing. So Evan Rodriguez has been terrific on that second line center spot. He probably will stay there with Kasperi Kapanen and Danton Heinen. That has been a very good line for the Pittsburgh Penguins. So Rodriguez over shots and to score a goal at a really good plus price. I would look in that direction as well. And you, Melissa, like Pittsburgh first period puck line and money line?
Yeah, full game money line. And Evan Rodriguez, you could get him in the 200 prices right now. I think when I looked last night, he was plus 255, and he's been someone who I've talked very highly of last year before he got injured, right, leading into the playoffs, and knew that he was going to, be a crucial part of that team, especially, getting chances and scoring offensively. So it's great to see him. But I do have a fun stat involving Sid, of course, because I can't come on the show and not give you guys something on the Penguins. So Sid has never scored a goal in Dallas. It's only one of 3 arenas in his entire career that he has never scored. He's been held scoreless 6 times. Fun fact, if anybody can guess the other 2 arenas as well, I will reveal them. But I like, that feeling because, any player who hasn't scored an arena and Sid's coming towards the end of his career, he's limited chances. So, that's in the back of his mind. So I kind of like the Sid bandwagon here today. Got him to score a goal. He's currently at plus 195, which is decent odds for a goal scorer prop. We saw him score the other night against the Blues just to tie it up. So look for him as well. And then Ian, do you know the other 2 arenas, or can you take a guess where he's been held scoreless?
The other 2 arenas where he's been held scoreless. Oh boy. in his whole career. I'm trying to think who's had the Penguins number all this time. Geez.
One is a team that I hate. X team.
Oh man, you're gonna have to let me know now. My mind is racing on this.
If anyone in the chat knows, yeah. So Rich has
Islanders?
it. Islanders, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, Penguins have had, more than their share of heartbreak, especially in playoff time the last few years because of the Islanders.
Yep.
Makes
And
sense.
then last one is, of course, the United Center. So, of course, he's usually injured whenever he
God, I was
comes
gonna
in,
say
but
Chicago, but oh
of
well.
course.
Yeah.
So just a little fun fact for you guys. So hopefully he gets on the board today, because that's definitely something in the back of his mind.
Yeah.
So I'm ride or die. I'm gonna stick with the Penguins money line, and then ride them on the first period as well.
Yeah, and I still lean to that team. And now it's 2.5, actually. They've dropped it. Now it's juicy. It's minus 145, minus 150. You got to lay a price, but now you're getting 2.5, not 3.5. So I still might have a small bet on that Pittsburgh team total over 2.5 here in this game against the Dallas Stars. All right, let's move to the next game. The rest of the games are tonight. We'll start with New Jersey and Columbus. We've got Columbus minus 125, home favorite, 6.5 the total in this one. Obviously, this is a home and home. They played in New Jersey the other night. New Jersey won by a score of 3-1. And I know it's short turnaround, rapid revenge for Columbus back home facing New Jersey. I'm still liking New Jersey here. I just think they're better. They're getting a slight underdog price. Jack Hughes is in great form, 5-game point streak for him. I think that, he's playing the way we expected him to. He kind of had an up and down start. Of course, he had some injuries as well, but he's playing well right now, centering that top line with Jesper Bratt, Thomas Tatar, Nico Hischier came back the last game. And now Dawson Mercer continues to impress this Devils team on this Devils team at the third line center spot. So very, very impressed with what I've seen lately from the Devils. And you look at it for Columbus, they've still got the same issues they've had most of the week going in to this game. They've got those same concerns with their goaltending, with their blue line a bit banged up. It looks like there's a chance, I believe, for Werenski to be back here for the Columbus Blue Jackets. I'm just going to see if I can get an update on that. Yeah, that is the good news for the Jackets. He's healthy. He's cleared COVID protocol, and he will be back and play for the Jackets tonight. So great news there that Zach Werenski, probably their best defenseman now, is going to be back for Columbus in this game. But still, they've got tons of issues with their goaltending. Elvis Merzlikins is still day-to-day with his lower body injury that he's got. I don't expect him to be back. Tarasov's still on IR. So it's Jonas Korpisalo or bust right now for the Columbus Blue Jackets in net, and it will be Korpisalo in net once again for them tonight, confirmed. He will be the starting goalie tonight for the Jackets. Don't know if that's necessarily a good thing with the way he's played. It's been a struggle. We have talked about that. His numbers not very good. He was a little bit better in the last game against Jersey on the road, but still lost 3-1. I like the over too. I mean, he got a lower scoring game, which surprised me in the last meeting between these two teams a couple days ago. But now you got Korpisalo in net again. I think New Jersey's going to have even more of an open book as to what to expect, where to find his weaknesses, exploit where he's not as good. And I think you're going to see New Jersey probably get some goals there as well. Columbus probably could find their way to a few goals as well. Although now they were also without one of the bright lights for them offensively this year with the way he's played. Alexander Tessier added to COVID protocol on Friday. So he now is going to miss this game once again. It's actually going to be his third straight game that he's been out. They were hoping to have him removed from the list, but he will miss this game as well against New Jersey. So that'll hurt the Jackets a little bit. But I think we're going to see this one be a little bit more higher scoring. The higher scoring game I thought we'd see a couple days ago. I think we'll see it tonight with these two teams. So I like the Devils as a slight road underdog. You can get them around plus 105, plus 110. And I like over 6.5 here as well, which you can get at even money. Melissa, what do you like here? New Jersey, Columbus.
Yeah, similar to you, I was on the over 6.5 a few days ago. And I think, that Devils came out quick and had a goal. And then we're thinking this is an easy over, and it ends up staying under, I think 3-1. And that was kind of disappointing. I hate betting sides of teams that are on these back-to-backs. We saw this a lot last year, and we had to kind of cap differently just because we'd get a lot of teams that would play Tuesday night and then they're playing again Thursday. So if I had to play on this one, it'd probably be the first period over. I like where your head's at with getting goals on both sides here. I don't like 6.5s. I don't like to play them. It is a little juice still right now. So potentially maybe just stick with that first period over. But as far as the side, I would lean the Devils just because, again, the Blue Jackets have been a complete mess since we saw them last Saturday blow that lead against Carolina. And I think from a confidence standpoint, this team is just not going anywhere. They need something to change. So I do lean Devils as well, but I do like that first period over.
It's been tough sledding for Columbus. They just can't buy it right now. They've actually played a little bit better defensively finally against New Jersey and still lose the other night. And then, of course, before that, they had been hemorrhaging goals. They gave up 7 in back-to-back games against Carolina last Saturday. That crazy comeback by the Hurricanes. I was thankfully on the winning side of. I was thinking that was not going to be a winner when they were down 4-0 at that time. But they did come back. It was a very impressive comeback for Carolina, and then they gave up 7 as well against Tampa Bay in the next game. So Devils, and I'm going to go back to the well with the over here, even though it stayed under in the previous meeting. We've got Andrew McGinnis now with us on this Saturday show as well. Andrew, welcome in. First 2 games we've talked about, Pittsburgh, Dallas, no Brian Rust, the big news, but it looks like Crosby is in. So there was some concern that I read a little report that some site had him out today. It looks like he is actually in. So at least as of right now, unless that changes in the next 90 minutes, but it looks like Crosby's good to go. What do you think of that game, Pittsburgh, Dallas, and also Columbus, New Jersey?
Yeah, well, first of all, let me know if I'm having any internet problems or anything like that. It seems like today my internet's been kind of acting up a little bit, but I can't come on the show when Melissa's here and go against the Penguins. That's just rule number 1. So I am on the Penguins today. I think it's a good price here. I've been on the Penguins bandwagon for a few weeks now, giving out that Penguins to win the East ticket. And I think the difference here in this game, and I can't believe I'm really saying this, is it going to be the defense. The way Pittsburgh takes care of the puck. I know they've been in kind of some shootouts recently, maybe, but I think Dallas. I've been shocked by their defense. What I saw from them, obviously their first game back after the NHL pause, and even what we saw before the pause, they just don't seem to be that same defensive team that we used to know them as, to be an automatic under team. They're giving up way too many chances. You look at that game against Florida for Dallas. I think if that was Dallas up against any better defensive team, than Florida. Florida's great offensively. We all know how many goals they give up, how many chances they give up on the other end. That game finishes 6-5 in a shootout. I feel like if that game itself was against Pittsburgh would have, played a lot tighter defensively and taken care of things. And I feel like I expect that today. Early start, especially, I think Pittsburgh gets it done in low scoring fashion, like 3-1, something like that in that ballpark.
All right, there you go. So still liking Pittsburgh. We're all sticking to our guns with Pittsburgh. Brian Rust it's a huge loss for a guy with 7 goals in the last 3 games, playing outstanding, on fire right now. But, it's not the be all end all. And sometimes, again, first game without a key player theory, we know that sometimes comes through for teams. We'll see if it does for Pittsburgh. We all kind of like Pittsburgh in some form there. Yeah. And the team total, I'm going to bet that small, like I mentioned, now that the team total's dropped to 2.5. What, Rust is out? We're going to drop the team total by a full goal now? No. So at 2.5, I'm going to bet something on that. And what did you think, Andrew, of the game we just talked about here with New Jersey, Columbus?
Yeah, well, guys, I think that in any single sport, it's something I've always really looked towards over the past year and a half here. If you look at 2 teams that have played each other recently, so if it's basketball, hockey, or football, I always like to go on the opposite end of what happened as far as a total in the first meeting. If you see a low-scoring one in the first meeting, I think with the advancement of the film that we see for these teams, the coaches checking film, trying to find things to look for, power play or whatever it might be, they can change things from one game to the next. Some people don't believe that. I believe you can change things from one game to the next as far as the film goes and little things like that. So I've always looked towards kind of the opposite of whatever total we saw happen in the first meeting. As long as it's within, 3 or 4 games even, I like to do that. And with this game and example here, with Columbus, we saw a lot of posts get hit in that game. Anybody that watched that game knows that game deserved to be over, or at least to be a little closer than it was. So I think today we will get there and get over. And I expect more out of Columbus tonight. I think that it's not going to be easy for New Jersey. I think when you see a team twice, Columbus, obviously they're pretty low on themselves right now. And I expect a good battle out of them. It kind of reminds me of what was it? Who did Chicago play the other day? Colorado. Kind of reminds me of that game a little bit, just because I obviously it's not, as big of a mismatch, so to speak, on paper, but I think everybody was kind of on one side. And I don't think New Jersey will dominate by any means. And I always say, for an over, it takes two to tango. You can't be taking an over and only think one team's going to score. And I think Columbus will contribute tonight.
Yeah, by the way, and Melissa mentioned and also the first period over. You got to lay some serious juice with that. I think it's 1.5 -1. There's even twos in some spots with the first period total. Keep in mind, though, both of these teams have trended that way. 9-1 first period over the last 10 for Columbus, 8-2 first period over last 10 for New Jersey. So both teams have trended first period over significantly in the last 10 games or so. All right, Boston, Tampa Bay. We got Tampa Bay -175 home favorites, 5.5 the total in this one. Here we go again with Boston, right? For me, it's just can't take Boston right now against a good team. They're not beating good teams. I mean, it's just continuing to be a season-long problem for this Bruins team. They've just not been able to beat quality opponents. You look at the last several losses they've had: Minnesota, Islanders, Vegas, Vancouver after Bruce Boudreau got there, Tampa Bay. Those have been the last 6 losses for Boston, all of them against good competition. You look at the wins they've had: New Jersey, Detroit, Buffalo, Calgary. That was a solid win. I'll give them that in Calgary. But Edmonton, when Edmonton was starting to struggle and go downhill, I mean, that's what we're looking at with Boston. I mean, it's just a team that's had a tough time having those step-up performances. Tampa Bay gets Nikita Kucherov back against Calgary the other night, so they're pretty much fully healthy. Outside, there's 2 absences for Tampa Bay. Ross Colton, pretty good depth forward, but still, they've got so many talented forwards and so many options in their forward group that they can probably survive Ross Colton being out and Zach Bogosian's day-to-day on the blue line. Charlie McAvoy looks like he might be back for the Bruins tonight, or at least upgraded to a game-time decision for this game tonight. But I think a decent chance that he might play in this one for Boston. I could only look Tampa in regulation here in this one. That would be the only way I would consider it from a side perspective. I'd lean over the total as well. The one thing that I worry about with the over here is Boston-Tampa has been an under series history, 3 straight unders head-to-head. That does bother me a little bit, does concern me. Tampa really played a good defensive game against Calgary. You worry about whether Boston's going to be able to score enough here. But Tampa, I think, should be able to here in this game. We talk all season long. Jimmy certainly has, Jimmy Murphy, about the Bruins' blue line not being as good, goaltending from one night to the next, not being consistent enough. It's probably the reason why the Bruins have actively gone after signing Tuukka Rask, and we're going to see the veteran Bruins goalie Tuukka Rask back before the end of the season because, again, Swayman, capable. I think long-term he's going to be the option, the guy, but he's still looking for consistency one night to the next, and Linus Ullmark is what he is. He's an average goalie. He's capable some nights, and then there's some nights he really struggles and fights the puck. So for me, I would lean with Tampa in regulation over the total. I haven't bet this game yet. There's other games I bet already, but I'll probably make a move prior to puck drop on both of these: Tampa in regulation and over 5.5 at around even money. Melissa, what do you think here with Bruins and Lightning?
Very similar thoughts here. I did lock in Tampa in regulation last night. I got it at +105. I think they definitely have the advantage here, especially from a goaltending standpoint. But I did watch the Bruins game the other night against the Wild, and congrats to Terry Edelman. I know that was a huge win for your Wild team. Problem the Bruins are having is they can't score. Like, they got these great lines, and we finally saw Pasta get one in. So it's like, is his streak going to keep going? But I've backed this team. I was on the over the other night. It was 3-2 going into the third. Thought that was going to be an easy, at least a push, and didn't get it. So I kind of have the same thoughts of you. I see Tampa getting over, maybe a 4-1 finish. It's kind of why I want to lay off the total in general, because I don't trust Boston to score here, especially with Tampa having the advantage in the goal. So I played it a little safer with just the regulation play here. I love Tampa, especially on home ice. But that's really what Bruins need to do. If they're going to win this game, it's probably going over because they finally found a way to get it in the net.
All right, like in Tampa in regulation, Melissa, in this one. Yeah, you will not see Tuukka Rask Velu in our chat here saying that, yeah, he's going to be doing a conditioning stint in the AHL with Providence. And it's going to probably be a good couple weeks that he's down there, getting back, because you can't just throw him out there, and he hasn't been on the ice at all since the beginning of the season. You got to get him some game action. He's got to stop some pucks, feel the rubber, if you will, and that's going to take probably a couple weeks now at the AHL level to get Tuukka Rask ramped up before they even throw him into a game in the NHL with the Boston Bruins. Bottom line is, you're not going to see him probably for at least another month before he's ready to make his Boston Bruins return. That is Tuukka Rask. And it'll be interesting to see how things go for him when he makes that ultimate return in between the pipes for Boston. Andrew, what do you think here, Boston, Tampa Bay?
I'll just say that I think that right now in matchups like this for the Boston Bruins, I think if you like the Bruins in this game, I think it's very similar to what Melissa was saying. I would look towards the over, because I think that that's the only type of game that I think the Bruins can win. Because they're not going to – I don't think they can contain the Tampa Bay Lightning. I don't think they can hold them to, 1 or 2 goals. They're too good. They're too deep. So if you like the Bruins, I would just take the over, because I feel like if they're going to compete in this game, there's going to have to be goals on both ends. But unfortunately, I don't like the Bruins. I like Tampa Bay in regulation, just like you guys were saying there. I like betting on them at home, and I think they're going to go on a good run right now. I feel like they're about to go on a good streak. 2 solid games, obviously against Calgary and Columbus, but putting up goals and more importantly, good defense from them, keeping the opponent to the outside. And also Vasilevsky had that one game back where he didn't look that great, and then all of a sudden he's looking great again, back to his old self. Rebound control has been great. So I just think right now they're the clear-cut better team. The number is right where it should be. I'm seeing a lot of people online saying that this is a steep price. I don't really think it is. I think Tampa Bay deserves this price tag, but I'll take the regulation price here.
All right. Liking Tampa Bay here in regulation in this one. All three of us signing off on that one, Tampa Bay in regulation. Next up, we got San Jose and Philadelphia. San Jose -115, -120. Road favorites, 5.5 being the total here in this game. It's a Martin Jones sighting in net for Philadelphia here in this game for the Flyers. Pretty much means I'm not betting on the Flyers in this game when I see that. Although he has had a couple of nice starts sprinkled in there, but I'm not really ready to trust him here in this game. And by the way, the Flyers are absolutely depleted now. It's getting worse for them from a COVID/injury standpoint. I mean, you're talking about Ivan Provorov on the blue line, Nick Seeler on the blue line, both out, Travis Sanheim as well. And up front, the center ice position is just gutted right now. Brassard, Konechny, Claude Giroux, the captain of this Flyers team, all landing in COVID-19 protocol and likely out tonight. I mean, that's a lot missing for the Flyers. Jones in net. I could only look San Jose. I'd probably prefer San Jose team total here. Team total for San Jose, 2.5. The problem is it's juiced, -160 with that. But it is 2.5. They get to 3 goals. You don't have to worry about the juice because it'll cash for you. But that would be the way I would probably consider betting this game, is San Jose team total over 2.5. Ultimately, I'm probably going to pass on this game, but I will throw out a lean there. Sharks team total over 2.5. Melissa, anything here for you? Sharks and the very shorthanded, depleted Philadelphia Flyers.
Yeah, I also saw that Carlson is out tonight too for the
San Jose's got a couple guys out. Yeah, definitely.
But I think Andrew said it best when I was listening earlier this week. You got 2 garbage teams playing one another. The only way that I can look right now is the over. It actually opened at a 6, and I saw it at 5.5 this morning. So if it is still 5.5, I love that even more. I think that, we're going to get goals from both sides. Sharks are on the end of a road trip. You might see a little bit tired legs out there, so Philly might get a couple. Those Philly fans are going to be booing them hard if they go down in that first period. Those guys are ruthless. I was watching them the other night, and they're losing the Penguins, and they're getting roasted in the second period. I don't know how those fans do that. But not so much the side here. I do like that over. I locked it in at a 6, but love it even more at 5.5.
All right, and there are 5.5, so don't worry about that at all, Melissa, because there are 5.5s available right now. Over 5.5 -120 in this one. Yeah, it's. I certainly think that's a decent way to go. Here is the over. It's always San Jose is a weird team. Something like they stayed under with Buffalo last night. First meeting was an under at 3-2, but with all what's out for Philadelphia, and sometimes when you've got that many players missing. You're going to miss some of the offensive guys for sure, but let's not forget 3 starting defensemen are out too for the Philadelphia Flyers. So that could be trouble for San Jose, by the way. Carlson, LeBanc, Balcers, and Couture. I talked about them on Thursday's show prior to the game against Buffalo. They were out for that game. It looks like they're all out tonight as well. So no real change for San Jose. Same players that were missing on Thursday night. It looks like they'll be missing again tonight against the Flyers. Andrew, what do you think here, San Jose, Philly?
Yeah, I'm right there with the over. Philadelphia allows 6, 4, and then 6 their last 3 games, and 2 of those games were against Anaheim and LA, not teams that you expect to just light you up completely. Playing at home now against a San Jose team that has been on the road a little bit. And, this is the thing about San Jose. These are the kind of games that I feel like they show up in. They always kind of surprise you in spots you think they might not play well. But Philadelphia, they're a team that I like to fade more on the road than at home. I've said this a lot of times on the show. They're more of a home-away split team that I focus on than a lot of other teams. So I don't really want to pick a side in this game, but I feel like we'll see goals on both parts. And I understand the injuries for San Jose, but I feel like they do have some guys in their lineup that can contribute. And guys, I just don't want to look at over 6.5. A lot of the time, I like to look for these 5.5 when we can still find them. So I'm happy with this one.
It's funny you say that because I'm looking at an over 6.5 in the next game we're going to talk about. Toronto and Colorado, the game of the night, in my opinion, in the NHL. Colorado minus 155, home favorite, 6.5 the total. It's over for me. There's just too much skill, speed, talent, finishing ability. I mean, you talk about teams that can just absolutely light it up and have been lighting it up lately. It doesn't get much better than this. Now, the Leafs were dealt a blow yesterday. Mitch Marner landing on COVID-19 protocol. Very unfortunate. I thought, hey, we're going to have a game here with 2 of the best teams in the NHL, and everyone's going to be healthy and ready to go because these are 2 of the healthier teams right now. And then we hear the news with Marner on Friday that he's gone into protocol. So that's disappointing for sure for the Leafs. But who's going to take his spot and be counted on to get minutes and more responsibility with Marner out? And that's Ilya Mikheyev. And I don't mind that. This guy's been great lately for the Leafs. I'd look at him. If you can find props for him tonight, Mikheyev, I think you've got something going there with shots and maybe to score a goal tonight for the Leafs, because I think he's someone that's, the way he's playing right now, his current form, capable of picking up the slack right now for the Leafs, playing with Tavares and Nylander. It looks like they're going to be a Austin Matthews, Alex Kerfoot, Michael Bunting top line. Kerfoot against his former team and on the top line. Maybe you look at a Kerfoot prop as well tonight for Toronto. And Colorado, I mean, what can you say about them? They are just lighting it up. They're scoring goals for fun. Seriously. I mean, the last 10 games, 5, 7, 7, 7, 3, 4. They had one game where they got held to 2 against Nashville. It was kind of a flat spot. And then after that, 4 against Anaheim, 4 against Chicago, 7 in the blowout win against Winnipeg here. Yeah, it's 6.5. And there's some truth to what Andrew's saying. We don't always love the overs at 6.5 as much, with 6 being such a common final result for total goals in a game. But I think we get to 7 tonight. And how do you ignore 10 straight overs in Colorado with these 2 teams? How do you ignore 6-1-1 to the over in the last 8 meetings overall between these 2 teams? I think we get over the total here, 6.5. And I lean Colorado here. I do, because they lost to Toronto 8-3 earlier this year. But that win comes with an asterisk for the Leafs because Colorado was beaten and beleaguered and shorthanded to shit in that game. Remember, they had a lot of injuries. They were down to their third string. They were down to Jonas Johansson in net. Remember, Darcy Kemper wasn't available that night as well. So they had a lot of injuries, a lot of issues. I think there was some COVID running through the Avalanche at that time. So I think Colorado probably is the side I would look at. But I'll be honest, I'm disappointed at the price, you guys. And that's why I'm probably not betting Colorado. I mean, minus 155. I mean, this is not like you're playing a mediocre team and you're laying almost minus 160 now in this game. You're playing a Toronto team that's playing with full confidence and still has the capability to win this game, in my opinion, even without Marner, because they've had other forwards stepping up lately for them. So, yeah, I lean Colorado, but I didn't like the price enough, and I do like the over here. Melissa, arguably the game of the night. What do you like here, Toronto and Colorado?
Yes, looking forward to just watching this one. There's a couple, trends that I love backing teams for. Obviously, I mentioned Penguins first period earlier. This next one is Colorado at home. They not only win at home, they cover the puck line at home. 9 of the last 10, they've covered the puck line. And I know you've mentioned just hitting goals. I also have the totals very similar, like 7s, 4s, 7s. My favorite play, because again, I know Avs money line is very juiced. It's not something I would touch. The angle that I like is the Avalanche team total over 3.5. Believe it or not, when I was looking at this game last night, I locked in the 3.5 in regulation at plus 110. I was shocked. Woke up this morning and it's like minus 125. So it also just shows how these lines are really changing overnight. But that is probably going to be my favorite play, just to consistently back them. I might sprinkle a little bit on the Avs puck line as well. I think they get it done here tonight. I want to keep them going with the home ice advantage here.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, for me, I love these two teams and the way they're playing. I really prefer not to fade either one, but if I had to choose one in this situation, I would lean Colorado. Again, I just didn't love the price enough, minus 160. You could go regulation too. I mean, definitely to get a better number, but I'm going to probably end up passing on the side. And like I mentioned, 10 straight overs, Leafs versus Avalanche in Colorado. I mean, 5-3, 5-2, 6-1, 4-3, 7-4. I mean, it's hard to ignore the scores we've seen in these games. And, if the over falls short tonight, c'est la vie. But, 10 straight overs in Colorado, that's hard to ignore with these two head-to-head. Andrew, obviously this is Hockey Night in Canada. This is, when you look at this card, this stands out easily as the best game on the board today. Should be a great one. What do you like here, Leafs and Avs?
Look, before I say this, I just want to say that I have paid plenty of compliments to the Maple Leafs this year. So when I say I'm fading the Leafs, it's not because I don't like them and I'm always that guy that makes fun of the Leafs. It's because I just look at this spot at home, like Melissa was saying. I look at Toronto. Let's look at, guys, really who they've played, even what they've done since the pause has been over. An Ottawa team that they dismantled 6-0. Ottawa was dealing with plenty of COVID. The league refused to cancel their games. And then an Edmonton team that actually was ahead of them at one point, or at least tied the game in large part. Maple Leafs, didn't really blow them out by any means, just barely scraped by in that game. Then they ended up luckily covering the puck line for puck line backers. But I haven't been too impressed. And look back before the break even started, they're playing teams like Chicago, Edmonton again, 5-1. They lose to Tampa, which is a key team, beat Columbus. How has this Toronto team really been impressing? Like, I think that one thing I've been impressed with Toronto has been I've seen more depth out of them. But when I look at the lines for Colorado, I look at Burakovsky, Kadri, and Logan O'Connor on that second line. I trust those names and even the JT Compher and Alex Newhook line to contribute more than I do for the depth of the Maple Leafs. And so unless Matthews has a 2-goal night and we see Mikheyev start to finish some of what he's been doing, Tavares hasn't really been scoring much. We need to get him a soccer net sometimes for him to score a goal. So he misses the net a lot. And I think that with this team, I actually like the under as well, because I think it's going to be tight checking. I feel like we're going to see a playoff mentality in this game. You're talking about it being the play of the night.
It is,
the game of the night. But the funny thing that always worries me is sometimes people say the first period is the hardest period to score. I think that for me, in a game like this, I always like to wait to see the first period happens. We might see a goal early, and then I jump in and get an even better number. If I can get like under 7 or 7.5, which is like, it sounds crazy, but it can happen. And then you're sitting on a way better price, because sometimes what happens is in these games, they start off with a couple goals and then they start to tighten up and close off a little bit. So I do like Colorado in regulation in this game at home. Slight lean to the under here.
Yeah, and it might be wise to do it in game, because you're right. I'm looking at first period overs. Colorado 7-3, Toronto 7-3 over first period the last 10. So they've actually gone over the total more in the first period the last 10 games, both teams. So that theory, if you like the under, maybe bet it live, because you might get those goals early, and then maybe it'll slow down after that. You could see that based on the trends. That, again, the trends are both these teams, 7 of their last 10, they've gone over in the first period. The Avalanche. It's a great game. I'm looking forward to it. Should be fun to watch. We got Florida, Carolina. So should this. This is the next best game, in my opinion. Florida, Carolina. Look at the way these teams are playing right now. Carolina minus 110, minus 120. Home favorites, 6.5 the total. It's tough again, this one, because everything you look at points to over. But just like the last game where everything points to over, it's 6.5. This one's 6.5. So it's not exactly a shoe-in by any stretch of the imagination that it'll get there. But when you look at Florida, 5 straight overs, 4, 9, 5, 6, 5 in terms of goals in those 5 games. 4-1. They're off a frustrating shootout loss against the Dallas Stars, 6-5. Carolina, 5 straight wins, beating Calgary last night. And even though it's back-to-back for Carolina, guys, this is not that same debilitating, exhausting back-to-back because they had 6 days off before the game last night against Calgary. So you have to keep that in mind for Carolina. They should still be fairly fresh going into this game. So this is another one from a side perspective. I would prefer not to bet against either of these squads at the moment. They're both teams I'm looking to back right now. I would only look over. Again, 6.5. It's tricky, but both these teams are trending that way. The last head-to-head meeting this year, the only one this year back in November, was 5-2, and it went over the total. It had 7. So hate to be repetitive, but everything points to over. It's 6.5. It maybe makes you a little bit gun shy, makes you want to step back a bit, but tough to ignore with the both ways these teams are trending in terms of goals, and that's toward the over in recent games. As far as a side, though, I just want to see a good hockey game, have some fun. I think you can make a case for both teams. I usually like the idea of backing Florida off a loss, so maybe a slight lean to the Panthers. But again, Carolina's rolling 4 straight. They're just scoring and filling it up right now. No need to want to get in their way. Melissa, what do you think here? Another really good game tonight, Florida, Carolina.
I know we have so many to choose from. It's like we need multiple TVs to watch these games tonight. It's hard. Again, I agree with you on this side 100%. The Hurricanes, I've been calling them my wagon team. This team just doesn't find ways to, if they're losing, they find ways to come back. They find ways to score. I know you mentioned we cashed the team total last night, which was great. They won a regulation easily. You got to love those no sweat bets. Again, I love the first period, both teams to score prop. This has been one that I've been playing a little bit more this year than I did previously. You get a lot better value. You mentioned the first period over. It's probably set at a 2, heavily juiced as well, probably for 1.5. So the creative way to get around this is, we saw, I don't know if goalie's been confirmed or not for Florida yet, but Bobrovsky looks terrible.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, they should have beat the Stars, but he's terrible. That guy, I mean, it was going right there.
He won't close his legs. Every goal is 5-hole on him. Every single goal is 5-hole. No pun intended on that, but
driving me insane. So I think that, Florida's easily going to get one here. And we saw it last night with the Hurricanes. They did start out losing 1-0. Columbus was beating them, so off a back-to-back, I kind of like both teams to score. But from a side, you can always look at a team total for this one. But my official play is just going to be the both team to score prop.
All right. Like in the first period, both teams to score at a really solid plus price you can get with that as well. I'm seeing plus 140 in a lot of spots with both teams to score first period. So pretty good number with that. And I find you could get that in some of these games, especially some of these, like even Toronto, Colorado. You could see that being maybe a first period, both teams to score as well, especially with this fact that we're seeing both of those teams trending to the first period over of late, which is an indication that both of those teams are showing the ability in recent games to score early in the game. So definitely that's a good one to look at because you're often going to get, Melissa, that, as you mentioned, the plus price on that first period, both teams to score, which is a good value bet, if you will. Particularly in a game like this, you could see that with these two teams. It should be a good one, though. It's Bobrovsky. What are you going to get? Because he is confirmed as the starter. He wasn't good against Dallas. He was phenomenal the game before that against Calgary. Calgary really had their chances, and Bobrovsky was really good in that game. So we'll see if he can get it back here after a little bit of a subpar game against Dallas. Don't be surprised if it's Antti Raanta tonight in net for Carolina because it was Freddie Anderson last night for the Hurricanes in the win against Calgary. So it's a chance they might go to Raanta here. Maybe with the 6 days off, it was Rod Brindamore's plan all along to give maybe Anderson the back-to-back because they got a lot of rest before these two games. But it wouldn't surprise me to see Raanta. And, we'll see how he fares here. But he's been a little bit more up and down. His numbers, 2.35 goals against, 908 save percentage. So not nearly as good as Freddie Anderson. So we'll see where Carolina and Rod Brindamore decides what he decides to do with his goaltending tonight. Andrew, what do you think here, Florida, Carolina?
Yeah, I think that I look towards Florida here. Obviously, Carolina's been playing really, really well. They're a great team. And I think that I love Rich's comment in our live chat here about Rod Brindamore, Rod the Bot, on the bench, giving it to his team after they were down just one goal. And you see what happened. That's how you can tell a very well-coached team, and there's a great leadership core on that Carolina team. But I don't know. Even though it was only Calgary, I have a feeling that was a big game last night. I feel like they went down early. They got up and they held that lead, but it got close at the end. Actually, I think Florida comes into this one pretty pissed off. Scoring 5 goals doesn't matter if you give up 6, and that's kind of what I used to say about the Maple Leafs last year. And the Florida Panthers have kind of taken that reign of being that team right now, where it doesn't matter how many goals you score if you're giving up, 4 or 5 the other way at the exact same time. I feel like they tighten things up defensively. I think it's a more hungry spot for the Florida Panthers tonight, and I'm backing them. I think they get the job done. It's tough to fade the Carolina Hurricanes in any way. As you said, Ian, nobody really wants to get involved in the side in this game. This isn't a big play or anything for me tonight, but I do like this, and I'll have a small play on it.
All right, we have Washington and Minnesota. Washington minus 110 to minus 115 road favorites, 6 the total in this game. Scheduling edge for Minnesota. They played Thursday in Boston. They got the 3-2 win in that game. Matthew Boldy, welcome to the NHL. Your first game, and you get the game-winning goal. How's that? Not bad for an NHL debut. Great to see, too, because he had family and friends in attendance there at TD Garden. The other night, got to see him score his first NHL goal. It was a really good thing to see. And now Minnesota back home. But obviously, the Trent Frederick hit on Kirill Kaprizov, ugly, unnecessary, didn't play the puck. And now as a result of that hit, and which left, and by the way, Marcus Foligno and the whole Wild team were incensed at Frederick for that hit. Foligno ended up dropping the gloves with Frederick in that game as a comeuppance for him for doing that. And now, of course, Kaprizov out at least for this game tonight against Washington, and could be out for some period of time. And that's troubling because all of a sudden you've got, you already had Eriksson Ek out, Bukestad out at the center ice spot, Jordan Greenway. You're down a couple key defensemen as well now, Jonas Brodin for the Wild. And of course, Jared Spurgeon remains out, and he won't be returning anytime soon. So this is concerning here for Minnesota now. And a Washington team that, even though they played last night, and I went against them. I had St. Louis last night in that 5-1 win. Laviolette not happy, and team not happy with their performance in that game. Samsonov ended up getting pulled and replaced by Zach Fucale in the third period last night of that 5-1 loss against St. Louis. We'll see who's in net for them tonight. I would think they probably go back to Samsonov, although if Vanacek is ready, and remember, Vanacek's been missing some time now for the Capitals. He might be available to them tonight. We'll have to wait and see. The latest is that now he missed practice on Friday, and he's still day-to-day. So he has cleared COVID protocol, but it could be Vanacek, it could be Samsonov, it could be Fucale. This is one of those where there's actually one of 3 goalies that could start tonight for Washington. So keep an eye on this closer to puck drop. I don't really have a strong feel for this game. I know Minnesota at home. I ain't betting them under when they play at the XL Energy Center based on their home ice record in terms of the over. 12-2 this year over the total on home ice, the Minnesota Wild. But you're missing Kaprizov. Washington's going to try to tighten it up, you would think, defensively. They've talked about it. So I'm going to pass this game, side and total. What do you think here, Melissa? Capitals taking on the Wild.
Yeah, this is a tricky one. It's funny because I was messaging Terry last night, and I said, Terry, the Wild are at plus money right now. If you like them, you better hop on them, because after the way the Caps looked last night, that you're going to see some money coming in. So I don't know if he did or not. But, I've missed Wild home overs. I think it's 8-2 in the last 10. So, again, I agree. You can never back the Wild off of an under, but can they get it going without their main man? That's going to be the question tonight. I did see the Wild team total is at 3. I do like that number. Even in games that they have been losing, they've been averaging, losing 4-3s or whatnot. So you do have a safer play there with the push. But from a side perspective, I do kind of like the Wild in this one, just because they did gain a lot of confidence against that Bruins win. They did shut the Bruins out in the third period there. The problem with the Wild is they've been taking so many penalties, and then they're getting crushed on the penalty kill. So they need to find a way to stay out of the box tonight. That's going to be their key to win that game, and then obviously score. So I lean Wild. Maybe I'll wait a little bit closer to puck drop for goalie confirmations, like you mentioned. But also, I don't like backing the Capitals without TJ Oshie. I know he was a late scratch yesterday. I think that he is
probably out again tonight. Him and Backstrom probably not returning either tonight.
They just can't seem to score when he's not there. Wilson can't do it all with Ovi on that line as well. So it's hard for me to back them just with that injuries, but also, when you've got two teams that have, clutch players that are out, it's kind of a toss up here, and priced accordingly. Obviously, we got them both, I think, at even money now. So lean Wild. Maybe Terry's influencing me too much. I do. Probably the over is the safer play.
He's
here.
Convincing.
He's very convincing. He was very mad at me when I told him that I like the Blues on the Winter Classic. But
he came out on top, though. You won.
He'd recommend to someone in financial strain and financial duress to put every last dollar on the Minnesota Wild, I'm sure, at this point, Terry Edelman. You'd tell anyone. It doesn't matter what their situation. Hey, bet the Wild. It's a good bet. It's a good investment. I'm sure you'd say that for sure. I don't know if it's a good investment tonight, but at the same time, look, I'm not on Washington tonight either. They're not playing great right now, and they definitely miss Oshie, and they definitely miss Backstrom. And to be honest with you, where was Ovechkin last night? I mean, very, very quiet game from him in that loss to the Blues last night. Shockingly, that he just really didn't make an impact on that game at any point.
I will say though, did you watch that game last night? Did you watch any of the first period? That could have been 4-0 Capitals in that first period.
They were the better team in that first period. Yeah. And then after that, it was like, wow, after all that,
there were still plenty of chances in that game though, guys. I think there were plenty of, I think the Capitals, I was impressed with how many injuries they have for the offense they were able to create. Yeah. We got to just tip our caps to the Blues. The Blues played good hockey as well. They kind of woke up after Washington, spun around them for 10 minutes completely. I'm on the over 6 here. We're seeing some 6.5, but there's plenty of 6s available here. I think Minnesota gets it going, even without their guy. And I think Minnesota, their biggest problem, I thought, maybe 3-4 years ago was that they didn't really have much besides the top line. Now they actually do, I think. And of course, as Terry's super excited about the younger guys coming up into the lineup, making an impact right away. I think we get over 6 here. I think it's a sloppy game. Zach Fucali, I always shut him out. I saw him play here, win a Mem Cup with Halifax. He's had a big journey. He's played, I think, for 6 different teams in the past several years. A couple different organizations, landing with the Caps now on the bench as a backup. And he looked all right coming in yesterday in relief of Samsonov. But the fact of the matter is, we're going to see him get peppered with shots by the Wild here. I feel like we get, 5-3 type game. I don't know for who, but that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, definitely. We don't know for who, but as long as we get 7+ goals, we're happy. Yeah, I lean over too. I don't know if I'll pull the trigger just because of Washington's chatter about playing better in their own end, but it's certainly strong lean that way. 12-2 to the over on home ice this year, as I mentioned, for the Minnesota Wild, and we'll see if that continues here tonight. All right, Nashville, Arizona. We've got Nashville minus 220, road favorites 5.5 the total in this one. I'll be very brief. I'm not betting this game. Arizona is, and I said this though, after with the win against Chicago a few nights ago, 6-4. It's worth noting the recent losses for Arizona: 3-2 to the Rangers, 8-7 in a shootout to San Jose, 3-1 to Winnipeg in a game where it was 2-1, and Arizona pulled the goalie for the extra attacker, that close to maybe tying the game. They've been in every game lately, believe it or not, Arizona. So buyer beware if you're going to be the bridge jumper tonight and lay this minus 220 on Nashville. I'm certainly not doing that, but at the same time, Nashville's playing great, 8-2 in their last 10 games. They've won 3 straight here in the new year, beating Chicago, beating Vegas, beating LA. They've been very solid. I mean, they're getting great years from Duchesne and Johansson, among others. Tanner Jeannot has stepped up for them. Philip Forsberg lately has been very solid for the Nashville Predators. I think he's in the midst of his best play so far this season for Nashville. So this is just a pass for me. I mean, it's too big of a number on Nashville and a price, but Arizona's scrappy right now. And if this is a 1-goal game, it wouldn't shine. Maybe Arizona plus a goal and a half if you don't mind laying the price. But it's a pass for me. Melissa, how about you? Nashville, Arizona.
I think this is going to be the game we'll all be watching tonight, right? With all the other matchups. You don't see Nashville at over minus 240, minus 250 on the money line. You don't see that often. Nashville has been a frustrating team for me. They seem to be one of those teams where when I back them, they lose. And then when I fade them, they love to win. But I think from a year-to-date standpoint, they're one of the most profitable teams this season if you throw in money on the money line. But if you look at their schedule, they're at the end of a road trip here. They do play Colorado, I think, on Tuesday at home. They might have that potential look-ahead situation. I would only look at the Yotes tonight. I do kind of like the plus 1.5, minus 120, I think it was. I think that there's excellent value there. In case they can get one against a team that's kind of ready looking ahead. What I do love, though, in this game is the first period over. Earlier, it was minus 120. I think that that's great value. Preds have hit this they're 4-1 in their last 5. And then I think the Coyotes are 3-2 in their last 5. So probably just going to stick to that. And then I might sprinkle a little bit on the Coyotes plus 1.5, see what happens.
Yeah, and what's impressive too about Arizona, they've had some guys out lately, key players out, that they miss, and they've still managed to, hang in a lot of games. Yaskin, Jacob Chikrin, one of their big defensemen, Connor Timmins, Ryan Dzingel's a good depth forward, Barrett Hayton, Jay Beagle, a young guy that they still think could be good at some point, Kyle Capobianco. I always remember the freaking Barry Manilow song with his last name, Capobianco. There you go.
That's a long last name.
It is. It's a very long last name. Yeah, it reminds me of the Copacabana. Yeah, Capobianco. He's out too for Arizona. But nevertheless, when I look at this game, I think it's a 1-goal game. I think if Nashville wins, it's a 1-goal game. So I know our resident Arizona Coyote fan, Clint, and you got to give him credit. He loves the Coyotes. He's loyal. He's not one of those people that's going to cheer for a new team, even though they're one of the worst teams in the NHL right now. He's going to stand by his Coyotes, win, lose, or draw. He's right. Arizona's played Nashville tough. So this is a scary game for Nashville. And you're right. They got Colorado, as Rich says, on deck after this. So a little bit of a leery spot here for the Predators in this kind of price range. Andrew, what about you? Nashville, Arizona.
Pass.
There you go.
Look, the thing is here, I think that the road trip factor is a big thing. How many games that Nashville's been playing recently that have been super exciting. Now you're playing an Arizona team. Do I want to ever bet on Arizona after a win? Definitely not. But do I want to look at Nashville right now? I think the kind of games they've been playing, I think they might be due for I hate using the word letdown, but I feel like they might be due for that. So I'm going to just pass here.
All right. Very good. All right. Before we get to our next game, we'll talk DraftKings right now. Of course, new customers to DraftKings Sportsbook, official sports betting partner of the NHL. If you're a new customer, bet just $1 on any NHL game and you can win $100 in free bets if either team scores a goal. If DraftKings Sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, you can play for huge cash prizes still for all season with DraftKings Daily Fantasy Hockey contests. DraftKings giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code THPN. Throw down $1 on any NHL game and win $100 in free bets if either team scores a goal. That's promo code THPN this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. Must be 21 years of age or older. Must reside in a DraftKings Sportsbook state. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit and $1 wager required. One per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Download the DraftKings app. Sign up for an account. Use the promo code THPN. All right, we move on now to Chicago and Vegas. We've got the Golden Knights minus 240, home favorites, 6 the total in this game. The Vegas Golden Knights snapping a mini skid the other night against the New York Rangers in a very impressive win, 5-1 in that game. They got Mark Stone back. Robin Lehner also came back for the Vegas Golden Knights in that game, which was good to see. Still missing Martinez and Max Pacioretty indefinitely, but at least to get Mark Stone back and also to get Robin Lehner back in net definitely helped them in that victory over the New York Rangers. Now they play the Chicago Blackhawks, and we're all waiting and anticipating and hoping we get Marc-Andre Fleury in net for the Chicago Blackhawks tonight as he gets ready to face his former team. It oddly hasn't been confirmed yet, but he'll be.
Did you see that quote, Ian? From the coach?
Derek King. Yeah. He basically said,
he's like, "Nah, I'm not gonna." Or actually, I think it was Alan Walsh, his agent, tweeted it, and he was like, because the coach said, "Yeah, if I don't start Fleury, he'll probably chase me down." And then that
Alan Walsh guy would do that.
Yeah, and then Alan Walsh said, "If you think he'll chase you down, wait till you see what I'll do if you don't start him." He's a good agent. I like him, man. I like him.
He stands up for his guys. Like, he will promote the fuck out of each and every one of the players he represents as an agent. He does. He goes above and beyond the call. You should follow him on Twitter. Anybody that's watching and listening to the Ice Guys here, follow Alan Walsh on Twitter. He is a great follow, and he will, if some coach or GM or someone's, thumbing their nose down at one of his players that he represents, you're going to hear about it, and you're going to see Alan Walsh tweet about it. Make no mistake about it, for sure. And this game, if Marc-Andre Fleury's in, and I expect him to be, I'm going out on a limb here, and I'm taking the price with Chicago. I'm taking Chicago here in this one at the plus number. Vegas, nice win against the Rangers, but it was back to Dairy Queen soft serve Georgiev in net that night. Let's be honest, he was not very good in net. And Fleury wants this one. Fleury wants to beat Vegas so badly for what they did. What they did to him was a travesty, and it's his return to Vegas. The crowd's they're going to do some kind of video thing for him, no doubt about it, at T-Mobile Arena. And he loves the fans there, and I think he loves the city still, but he hates the organization, I think, for the way it ended there. Not even giving him a call, not even picking up the damn phone and saying, you know what, we've traded you to the Chicago Blackhawks. You had to hear about it on social media. The fact they made the decision in the first place to say, hey, we're going to go with Robin Lehner as our number one guy. We're going to part ways with you. This is a game that I expect, if there's ever going to be a share, if I can turn back time game for Marc-Andre Fleury, turn back time to his prime and steal the show and steal a game. And look, it might take that for Chicago because we know how good Vegas is. But I think you're going to get whatever best game, a game, whatever you want to call it from Fleury. I think you're going to see it tonight in this game for the Chicago Blackhawks tonight. And again, the price is at this price, I'm jumping in. You can get plus 205, plus 210, plus 215. And you also get the Blackhawks off a thoroughly embarrassing loss. Anytime you lose to an Arizona Coyotes, that's a gut check, and that's a look in the mirror type of experience. Like, you got to look yourself in the mirror and say, God, we've fallen to being that bad in a particular game. So I think you get Chicago really showing up tonight. Again, there's a question of whether that's going to be enough because we know Vegas is the better of these two teams, but I think you get Chicago's best punch tonight, and you get one of Marc-Andre Fleury's best efforts tonight. And I'm willing to take a shot at north of plus 200 with Chicago. Ballsy, but I'm taking Chicago here. Melissa, what do you think? Chicago at Vegas.
Well, you know how I feel about the Blackhawks this season. But, the last time Marc-Andre Fleury did have a homecoming in Pittsburgh, he was pulled within the first 10 minutes, if anybody else remembers that. And that was an embarrassing homecoming for him. The Blackhawks, they've been struggling. They've just mistake after mistake. Yep. Kane's getting frustrated, hitting post after post. Taves is finally getting on the scorecard again, so at least he's contributing. The only thing that concerns me is they did have that players only meeting. I think a lot of times when teams do have that, we saw that with the Stars, and they went on to rally after that. I just don't think Vegas is the team that is going to help them rally. I think Vegas the other night just looked unstoppable. They're scoring goals. They're confident. Even Leonard's looked pretty good the other night. there's no way for me to look at the Blackhawks in this one. I do get, your process. It is a great value play tonight on the Blackhawks. I personally am on the over. I was talking with Chris Otto about the over. He actually pinged me and he's like, the over's opening at 5.5. Let's hop on it. Let's roll. And we both, as Penguins fans, were like, is Fleury going to look like he did in Pittsburgh? We don't know. But I do think, even if the Blackhawks do end up winning this game, it's probably going to be an OT game, maybe a 3-3, and that over is the safer play. So I am on over 5.5. As far as a side, I kind of want to watch the first 5 minutes and see what happens. If I can get Vegas, on the puck line, maybe we'll see what happens. But definitely see your thoughts there. But I think, Howie in our chat is always saying Blackhawks for the cup. That's not happening.
No.
I think Blackhawks need to rebuild. I've been saying this forever. They need to trade Kane to Buffalo and let him do his thing over there in his hometown. Rebuild. Let's go. That's all.
And after the 2-game losing streak they won, Vegas might want to keep it going and obviously get on a little bit of a run after that. And they're certainly the better of these two teams. There's no denying that. Chicago's lost 6 straight. They're not in good form at all. And that defensive structure that they played for about 10 games when Derek King first took over as the interim coach here, it's kind of dissipated since then. I mean, really, during this 6-game losing streak, they've given up 3, 4, 6, 5, 4, and 6 to Arizona, in their last game the other night. So the defensive game is kind of eroded again for Chicago. We'll see if they can get it back on the rails tonight. They're going to need to against a team as good as Vegas. For me, it's just one of those gut feel games for me. Like there's no rhyme or reason to take in Chicago over Vegas tonight, right? They've lost 6 in a row. They just lost to arguably the worst team in the NHL. Vegas is at home where they're good. They're the much better team. There's no rhyme or reason in theory to want to take Chicago, but this has got gut feel for me that this is a Fleury type of, Rembrandt, if you will, in the net for him tonight. Rembrandt performance against the Vegas Golden Knights, and that might have Chicago live potentially to pull off the big upset here. Andrew, but this is one of the games I'll definitely be keeping this is the game I'll probably be watching more than the rest at the late night hours here. What do you think here, Andrew? Chicago, Vegas?
Yeah, well, I mean, with the storyline like it is, I'm kind of happy that it's it's Chicago at Vegas and out in the West Coast. That way we can kind of separate lots of great games, like you mentioned, even the Boston, Tampa, obviously Toronto, Colorado, Florida, Carolina, so many good games early on. That's obviously the headliner of the late games here. I think that I'm going to look just towards an under in this game. I think that with the Vegas Golden Knights, I've preached that I thought they had several guys of the supporting cast. Obviously, we saw Mark Stone get added into the lineup, and we have seen this Vegas Golden Knights team playing some goal fest type games recently. But we've also, seen some bright spots defensively, I thought. In Chicago, it's not easy taking an under with them. That's for sure. It's a rarity for me to look towards an under with them. But I feel like, if we're going to play the emotional angle here, I feel like the defensemen and forwards will kind of have Fleury's back. They will play good defensively. And I've also noticed Chicago turning into more of a dump and chase team, which is very irregular for them. They have so much talent that usually they're a carry it in type team, but they've kind of tried to get more zone time. And if that can really be effective for them, that's what contributes towards unders. If you look at it, obviously you can't really find these numbers anywhere, but a lot of the teams that are dump and chase teams, those are the under teams. The teams that like to carry it in, those are the teams that are constantly going back and forth. It's kind of like in basketball with a 10-second shot clock. So in this game, I'm looking towards an under. I haven't gotten to the window with it yet, guys, but I feel like we could see a low-scoring game here. And honestly, as far as the Fleury angle goes, Ian, even if they lose, I think it's respectable if they lose like 3-2 and Fleury has like 38 saves. You know what I mean?
Very possible. Yep. Yeah. Plausible possibility. In my opinion,
maybe even take a look at the save prop for Fleury.
Yeah, that's probably a good way to go.
Chicago allows a lot of shots.
Yep, and and I think he'll play pretty good tonight. At least he's certainly going to be fired up and incentivized to play as good as he possibly can tonight in his return to Las Vegas. Again, he loves the fans, he loves the city, loved the area. Apparently, he had nothing but good things to say. But the organization, let's be honest, the organization spit in his face with the way it ended there. Like not even phoning him to say, hey, we traded you to Chicago. Just he found out about it from a tweet about it from one of the insiders, the NHL insiders. I mean, that's a brutal way for it to end. And shame on Vegas for allowing the news of Marc-Andre Fleury being traded to come out that way. I think he wants to stick it to them tonight, and hopefully the players in front of him play well enough to give him that chance to maybe get this victory tonight, which is the big if with a team that's lost 6 in a row, obviously, going into this game. All right, we got 2 games left. New York Rangers, Anaheim Ducks. The Rangers -115 to -120. Road favorites, 5.5 the total in this game. Rangers looking to bounce back after losing 5-1 to the aforementioned Vegas Golden Knights in their last game. They're still playing very good hockey overall, though, the Rangers. They had won 3 straight before that. We'll see if they can bounce back. Unfortunately, COVID-19 is starting to ramp up here for the Rangers just a little bit. Igor Shesterkin on COVID protocol, and I don't think he's going to be available potentially for them tonight as well. We'll have to wait and see. He landed on protocol Thursday. He has to have 2 negative tests. We'll have to wait and see if he gets those 2 negative tests. He would have had to have one Friday and another one today. So we're going to wait and see on that. That remains to be seen in this one. We'll see if that's the case here with Shesterkin, if he's cleared to play. If not, it'll be Georgiev again, probably. And Georgiev's good at times, and he had some really good games, including the win against Edmonton. And then he had the game against Vegas where he definitely was fighting the puck and not sharp, not on top of his game, off the angle a little bit, and that's sometimes what can happen here with Georgiev when he gets the start. So we'll see who's in net for the Rangers, but Dryden Hunt's on protocol now. He's been a good depth forward for the Rangers at times this year. And Julian Gauthier as well has landed on protocol for the New York Rangers. Panarin's still out as well. I'm certainly interested to a certain degree in the New York Rangers in this game as a small road favorite against Anaheim. Of course, the Ducks kind of slumping a little bit. They had lost 4 in a row. They did beat Philly 4-1 in their last game. We'll see if they can build on that here. But they're also without some key players. Ryan Getzlaf, Adam Henrique, both out. Derek Grant as well, COVID protocol. Sam Carrick, COVID protocol. Hampus Lindholm on the blue line, COVID protocol. The good news, though, is they did get Trevor Zegras back in the last game. So obviously one of their better forwards. That's going to help the Ducks here a little bit. But if we get Shesterkin back, certainly I'll be looking at the Rangers. If it's not him, I'd probably still lean Rangers. But again, you've got COVID-19 protocol starting to become a little bit more of an increasing factor for the Rangers. So that's the one thing that's maybe making me a little hesitant, but I definitely lean Rangers here. Melissa, what do you think? New York, Anaheim.
I think I love the Ducks in this one, especially with Zegras coming back. I felt bad the other night I think there was a lot of people who were on the Rangers, and then, 5 minutes before puck drop, they realized that, Igor's not in, and
Mark Stone back for Vegas too.
Yeah, it was just two daggers in one. It's a tricky spot here just because, both sides have these COVID issues, and it's one of those situations where there's so many other games on the play tonight. If I were to lean aside, it would probably be the Ducks and then also the under here. But again, I want to wait and find out more goalie confirmation. I think the Ducks were even money last I checked, so I like them in the home spot, especially with Zegras, because he's itching to get back. And I was backing them the other night against the Wings before they just decided to cancel that one on us. So, I've been pretty high on this Ducks team as well. I actually got a Troy Terry shirt for Christmas just because I love those guys. I love these teams that have these young guys that are just coming out there and having fun. And, it probably killed them the other night having their game canceled. So, I think overall it's just going to be two teams that are out there having fun. It can really go either way, but from a price standpoint, I like the Ducks money line.
All right. Liking the Ducks here in this one. We'll see how it goes again. And by the way, Mika Zibanejad, 2 games in a row without a goal, which has been a rarity for him. He's been very good lately, but last 2 games he's been silent, held off the goal scoring sheet. Maybe a buy low opportunity on him. Like, this might be a night where he's finally able to find the back of the net for the Rangers. And certainly there's going to be bonus to do that. Panarin's still out. You've got a couple of your depth forwards missing now because they're on COVID protocol. So maybe we'll see if Zibanejad can end his little mini goal drought that he's incurred in the last 2 games. Andrew, I know this was you. We were talking off air. You were kind of interested in the Rangers initially here. Where do you stand with this one now, Rangers and Ducks?
Well, I like it, but just not as much, I guess I'll say. I think that, you know, I stand behind the wager I made for the Ducks not to make the playoffs. It's funny because I talked about it for so long. Before I actually got to the window with it, and when I first started mentioning on shows I do, it was like plus 112, and when I went to bet it, it was minus 140. But that number is going to continue to slide, I think, because it was kind of a sell point for them. They were second in the division, but just like Melissa said, they're fun to watch. They're exciting to watch. They've got great younger players. And every single time I watch an Anaheim broadcast, they pretty much say the exact same thing. They talk about how the coaching staff has preached that they have a perfect mixture of younger players that are like, younger than me, like 23, 24, 19 even. Like they're like, just fresh out of college. And then you've got guys like Ryan Getzlaf, who could be their father, all on the exact same team, which is just a funny mixture for a team. But I look at that game for New York. Every single person was talking about the headlines of, Gallant going back to Vegas, Reeves going back there. And then it was a letdown for them. They didn't play very well. Vegas had practically one of their best games of the year, though. And I think that's kind of what's been a little bit hidden in those numbers, is that hockey to me is a sport that you can handicap if you don't watch all the games. But I think that with certain games like that, if you watched it, sometimes you have to just tip your hat to the team that played well. And I think Vegas just played very well in that game. I don't think it was as much as a poor effort from New York, as much as Vegas just having one of their better games of the year. So I feel like we're getting a pretty good price on New York, and I'm taking them here. But Ian, I was going to make it a really strong play, but now it's just a regular play.
There you go. So still liking the Rangers, though. It still supports them here. Minus 115, minus 120. All right, the final game of this massive card, 11 games. This is the last one. Detroit Red Wings, Los Angeles Kings. We've got the LA Kings minus 140. Home favorites, 5.5. The total shaded to the under in this game. LA losing 4-2 to Nashville Thursday night. Detroit was supposed to play Thursday night, but they had that game postponed against Anaheim. But you would think that throws a team off their schedule, throws them off their rhythm a little bit. But with Detroit, remember, they were going to play in Anaheim. When teams play Anaheim and LA back-to-back on the road, they stay in the same hotel. They don't have to take a plane to the next city. They take a bus ride down the freeway to get to Honda Center in Anaheim, or in this case, I've still got to get used to saying it. It's not Staples Center anymore. It's Crypto.com Arena in Los Angeles. You just take a bus. Detroit gets to stay in the same hotel. So this is not a big deal that they've had their schedule altered. They get to stay in the same city, same hotel. They don't have to fly anywhere. So this is not that big of a deal. If this was another situation where a team has a game suddenly postponed and they got to go on the road for another game and they'd have to fly and get a new hotel, that stuff, then it's a little bit more of a problem. So it's not a terrible situation for Detroit. But what is terrible with Detroit is that on the road, they're 4-11. All right. That's terrible. And that's part of the reason why I don't really want to trust the Red Wings here. I took them against San Jose in their last game to wrap up the homestand, and they won 6-2. That was more a fate of San Jose and Detroit wanting to get a win before they hit the road. It's not a sign of, I bet Detroit against San Jose, I'm going to ride this team now for a few games. I'm not going to be doing that here tonight in this game. And LA, off the loss to Nashville, which is no shame in that, the way the Predators have played. We'll see if they're capable of bouncing back here against the Red Wings. LA, by the way, when you look at the series history, the Red Wings have struggled 1-5 the last 6 head-to-head meetings. LA at home has won 3 straight against the Red Wings, 4-1, 4-2, and 3-2. So they've done pretty well here. It'd be Kings or nothing for me, but there's other games I like more, so it's going to be nothing. Just a lean for me to Los Angeles right now in this one. Melissa, do you have anything here? Detroit, LA.
Same. This is a pass for me. I think, the Kings are a team that is usually playing late for me being on Central Coast time. So I don't watch Kings games very often, so I don't have a good feel on just the team in general. And same with the Wings. So just is just going to be a pass. I like a lot of the other spots. So
what time zone are you? What time is it where you are right now, Melissa?
12:30.
Central.
Okay.
Yeah, Central time for
But during the week, it's rough when those games start at 9:30. I don't know how East Coast
it's
people
2:25 for me right now. I'm even more ahead than Ian.
Yeah. Oh my gosh! Yeah,
he's in Atlantic zone, Atlantic time zone, which is an hour ahead of the Eastern time zone.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's rough. You
Yeah.
know, Kings games are more fun when Snoop Dogg is there. That's what I always say.
When he does the guest commentating,
That
I
is
love
awesome.
Alex Faust and Jim Fox are the television announcers for
It
LA
never
Kings games.
disappoints.
Yeah,
Not
Never.
once.
Snoop will
Not
join them.
once.
Yeah, Snoop will join them every now and then. You see, you're right. He just riffs and he goes on a tangent and he's funny and he's like,
I
yeah,
love
let's
when he
get
loves
rolling.
hockey.
Yeah,
Like,
he does.
that's
Yeah.
amazing to me.
He's almost like just like fascinated by it. He's like,
Yeah.
oh, look at that. Like, look at that. He's gliding along. He just like everything he says just sounds
He
so
was at
cool.
every Anaheim Ducks game when they made that Stanley Cup run with Brian Burke, Randy Carlisle, Chris Pronger, Scott Niedermayer, Solane, young Ryan Getzlaff, young Corey Perry. We remember that Anaheim team that won the Cup in 2007. Snoop Dogg went to every pretty much playoff home game that year for Anaheim. So he is a big hockey fan. He likes the sport. There's no question. That's not manufactured. He legitimately likes hockey. He gets into it. He did actually a rules little video for NHL.com where he's actually breaking down the rules of hockey for the NHL.com website. I think they did that a couple of years ago with Snoop. So, yeah, he definitely likes the sport. There's no question. LA, by the way, you look at the loss to Nashville, they ran into a masterpiece from UC Saros that night. He was outstanding, 40-plus shots for the Kings in that loss to Nashville. But Saros was excellent in net. And, anything close to that, and they probably have a shot here to bounce back, get the victory. Because, again, they probably deserved a little bit of a better fate Thursday night against Nashville. They did heavily outplay the Predators, just did not get the win. Saros was outstanding in net that night for the Predators. Andrew, what do you think here with the Red Wings and the Kings?
Look, I only really like back in LA at home, so that's kind of a brighter spot here, but I just don't like this price. So I don't want to tie them into a two-teamer. I don't want to take them in regulation, and I don't like the dog price on the Wings tonight, so it's a pass.
Yeah, definitely. And the road record, too, is concerning for Detroit. They just haven't been, quite frankly, good enough right now on the road. And, what's upsetting, unfortunately, for Detroit is they expect a lot out of Philip Zadina. The backstory is actually Andrew, because I remember him saying this to me. He interviewed Philip Zadina way back in the day, and he's fallen out of favor here in Detroit, at least right now. He's a healthy scratch the other night against San Jose. He struggled to get his offense going. He's got 1 goal and 3 points in the last 14 games for Detroit. He came out publicly and admonished Blashill and the decision to bench him or make him a healthy scratch.
What did he say?
So he wasn't happy about it. I know that. I'm frustrated because I had a lot of chances and didn't score. COVID break and stuff like that kind of pushed me down. I just feel I should have been in there. So he wasn't happy about it. We'll see now. The question is, does he get put back in the lineup tonight? But certainly the Red Wings thought he would be one of their key primary offensive pieces, and hasn't exactly played out that way for the Red Wings. But most
the
of
problem
their
is with them is that with because I watched that team play, and the funny thing is with that team is that I find if you're on like a mediocre junior team, it almost like when you're so much better than everybody else on your team, it makes you look like better than you are. And I'm not saying he was overrated coming into the draft, but that was like a mediocre ever since Drouin, Furk, McKinnon, all of these guys were on, Mackenzie Weegar, all these guys were on that, absolute, the best team the Mooseheads ever had here in Halifax. There's just been like mediocrity. They've had some good seasons, but they always draft Euros well because Halifax is one of the wealthiest franchises in the QMJHL. They have a lot of scouting over there in Europe. So they always drafted well in Europe, but they come over and Zadina just lit it up. But right away, everyone was calling this guy the second coming of, I don't know, Nikolai Ehlers maybe. But I just think that he hasn't really had time to progress. And you think that with the Red Wings, he should develop. So I kind of have to take his side. And I know I'm biased because I watched him and stuff, but I think that this is the time to put him in. Like Stevie Y and those guys, like you have to let these guys develop. And in 2 years, if he hasn't panned out, then do something about it. That's the way I feel anyway.
Yeah, definitely the Larkin and Bertuzzi have been outstanding for the Red Wings this year. Lucas Raymond has really cooled off after being pretty good earlier this year. He's in a bit of a goal scoring drought right now. And a lot of the other depth forwards have been quiet lately as well. So Detroit, it seems like right now, top heavy at the moment because Larkin and Bertuzzi are really their only consistent sources of offense at the moment for Detroit. So we'll see if they can get some depth scoring and some other options to help them out tonight in this game against the LA Kings. Great stuff with Andrew McGinnis and our special guest, Melissa Cunningham. We might even try Melissa if you're around in the next week or two before the little one arrives on the scene. Get you on the show one more time as a special guest. But Melissa, it was great to have you. And like I say, we will hope to have you back maybe one more time before the end of the month.
Thanks for having me. It's always fun. I always like doing Saturday. I know these are like long shows with long.
They would put you to work, right?
Yeah.
No freebies for you. You get the big card, so you got to put the work in. Yeah.
But I will say, for if anybody newly is listening, I always speak very highly of this show. You guys are basically the reason why I just started. I would always listen, didn't bet. And then, it got legalized here in Illinois. So started, just experimenting with plays. But not only do you guys, share your plays, but you also educate about how to bet and where you can find the best value. And I think that is something that I've learned, just over the last year of listening to you guys. So for newer viewers out here, I always say it. You guys are my favorite show to listen to, especially when I'm at work, bored, or putting together something. So appreciate the hard work that you guys do, Andrew and Ian and Alex and Jimmy as well. So very highly of you both. So appreciate you.
And right back at you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
100%. And you know what? It's a lot of work. It's a lot of time. We're the only hockey show that does every single game on the board. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, especially on days like today where there's 11 games, but we do it. We do it because people appreciate it. We love our listeners and viewers and all the support. The show is growing. The video views are increasing. The podcast downloads are increasing. And we want to keep building things here with the Ice Guys and including the viewers and the listeners as family and extended family.
The show isn't the show without the viewers.
Right.
And it sounds so cliche, and it's like you hear so many other shows say that, but if I'm not on my laptop next to me typing to a question that someone said or a statement or a funny thing, if you notice, like I love to laugh. I laugh at a lot of statements people say in the live chat room or talking about a coach or a player and things you guys have to say. So as much as Ian and I are doing this all the time, we do this full time for careers. There's plenty that we can learn from you guys, and we love to hear from you guys as well. So. I'm happy to have you on, Melissa, and on the Saturdays, especially on these big slates. It's nice to have you on.
NHL brunch. I'm always down.
Well, that's another thing I wanted to mention as well. And you guys, I think, would agree with this. It's not just that we want to treat the viewers and listeners that support the show like family. You are, and we appreciate your support. But we also love and appreciate your hockey knowledge, your acumen, your ability to handicap games, your ability to make good bets and find good value. And that's why we bring Melissa and some of our other viewers and listeners onto the show. We're going to try to get Chris Otto on the show as well throughout the course of the season as well. Like, we trust and have faith in you guys and your abilities as bettors to have good sound reasoning, logic, thinking, a process to break down games in your own way that makes sense. And we want that to be part of our show as well. So
Melissa, do we know if it's a boy or a girl coming?
Yeah, it's a boy.
Yeah.
Do you have the name, or is that a secret?
Well, I was telling Ian.
You better make him an Ice Guys fan now. He's got to be an Ice Guys fan.
I know. Well, I got to get him a onesie for that.
Yeah.
But I was telling Ian pre-show that everyone's like, "Oh, is his name going to be Sydney or some sort of like penguin influence?" I'm like, "No, it's not." But no.
Is it a secret?
Well, the funny thing is we don't have one picked out yet. We have 4 weeks to go. So
there you go.
We shall see.
Can't do it all at once. Yeah. There's other pressing matters, I'm sure, at the moment. Yeah.
So it will be a surprise. Definitely.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, we definitely are looking forward to the day, of course, Melissa awaiting birth right now. So looking forward to that.
You'll know happens because
I'm sure you're looking forward to it being over, right? You're looking forward to it being the hell over.
Waiting.
Yeah. If we don't hear from her, we know what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Awesome stuff. All right. Let's wrap it up the only way we know how on the Ice Guys, and that's with best bets to wrap up the show. As always, Melissa, you're our guest today. We'll start with you. What do you like for your Saturday best bet?
There's so many to choose from, but you know what? I'm going to go back to that Avalanche game. I love the Avalanche team total over 3.5. That's going to be my favorite play.
All right. Colorado Avalanche team total over 3.5. I mean, 4 goals has been a routine occurrence lately. 4+ have been a routine occurrence lately for the Colorado Avalanche. So hard to deny that. Colorado team total over 3.5. Best bet for Melissa Cunningham, our special guest here on this Saturday edition of the Ice Guys. Andrew McGinnis, you're up next. What do you like for best bet?
Yeah, best bets continue to be rolling here. I feel like a lot of pressure. I don't want to break this streak, but Washington and Minnesota over 6. Best bet for me today on the show. I feel like we see goals from both parts. Both teams coming off different types of games, but I think both teams are going to have their foot on the gas pedal and not take it off for a full 60.
All right, Washington, Minnesota over 6 -120. Best bet here for Andrew McGinnis on this Saturday card. And best bet for me to wrap it up, I'm going to go with the Chicago. No, I'm kidding. I'm not using that as best bet.
You were going to do it.
No.
Be bold, Ian.
I'm just pulling I'd never had
bold.
plans to use that as a best bet. I like Chicago, but they're not best bet material. No, they're not. Not quite. I'm going to go for best bet with the New Jersey Devils as a slight road dog against Columbus, +110. I just think they're playing good hockey. They've won 4 of their last 5. Columbus is a total mess right now. High scoring games they can't win because they can't defend. And Korpisalo I don't trust. And look, in terms of their offense, look, they finally played a little bit better defensively, got held to 1 goal in their last game. They just can't win any sort of game right now, the Columbus Blue Jackets. Low scoring, high scoring. They try to clamp down defensively. They still lose. They try to open it up. Their defense gets shredded. They still lose. So, and I like the way New Jersey's trending here. And I like the over in the game too. I almost went with that instead, but I'm going to go with New Jersey here, +110 against Columbus for best bet for this Saturday card. And that'll wrap up this edition of the Ice Guys. Thanks to everybody in the chat for joining us. And Kevin in the chat says Sidney Crosby on the ice for pregame skate right now for Pittsburgh. So yes, he will play. It is Rust that is the one out for
Gave us a heart attack this morning.
Absolutely. That's silly sight.
Out.
Get your shit together there, Hockey Buzz.
Figure out your sources.
Let's go here. You're supposed to have a Penguins beat writer saying Sidney Crosby might play. What kind of a beat writer are you? Beat writer, and that'll beat you upside the head for making that kind of mistake. There you go. Beat writer. That bad mistake. And we almost gave you bad info, but we corrected ourselves. We saw the mistake. We got the right info. Sidney Crosby playing today for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Great stuff. Andrew McGinnis and Melissa Cunningham, thanks again for joining us as our special guest on this Saturday show. Thanks to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button on the way out on YouTube for those of you watching live on YouTube. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio. Download the Ice Guys podcast whenever you can't watch the show live. For Andrew McGinnis, our special guest, Melissa Cunningham, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Saturday. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we'll talk to you again tomorrow on Sunday for another edition of the Ice Guys presented by the Hockey Podcast Network.